much, and thank you as well for inviting me to this conference. It's obviously a pleasure to participate, and I wish I could have been here in person as well. For now, we have to do it virtually, and hopefully very soon we can meet in person. I'm very pleased that Alex was presenting prior to my presentation, because it's actually a perfect transition to the topic that I'm going to try to cover. It's the role of facility managers in creating sustainable buildings. And I must admit, 15 minutes presentation is a very big challenge when you talk about these topics. So I'll try to do my best to keep it as short as possible. Maybe first, a small introduction of IFMA, very briefly. We are the world's largest and most widely recognized association for facility managers. And we have about 24,000 individual members spread over 106 countries. I'm the Managing Director for our activities in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And I'm based in Belgium. We have about 140 chapters in 106 countries. Next to that, we also have councils and communities, all networking groups where members and non-members can find each other to connect and discuss FM-related topics and learn from each other. Now, that being said, I'm going to go and dive straight into the topic. I believe it was at beginning of 2016, the 17, what they call Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development were adopted by world leaders in September 2015 at a pretty historic, I would say, UN summit. And that's when they officially came into force. And for each of these goals, we could look at the relation with facility management and how facility management can be part of achieving them. Now, to a large extent, these goals and their execution are related to the advanced content of facility management. FM can be interpreted as a very operational discipline, making production in organizations possible. And the more extended, let's say more strategic interpretation of FM covers also the policy-oriented content of FM in a broader context. I will not go further into detail because of time restrictions, so I'll pass on. And I'm also happy that Alex referred to the European Green Deal. With the release of that European Green Deal initiative in 2019, European Commission has made sustainability one of their top priorities. And this is absolutely amazing and was absolutely necessary, obviously. For our industry in particular, the strategy for a sustainable built environment could not be more relevant. And the impact of facility management in, for example, energy efficient buildings or that renovation wave is absolutely enormous. We just need to realize that and act upon it. A big challenge. Now, in 2016, you had the Paris Agreement. You have the European Green Deal in the European Union, the Climate Crisis Plan in the US, as well as a lot of local regulatory activities. What it shows is that everybody is coming together to lift some of the pressure of our planet and our people. Now, building and facility managers have been challenged to contribute to ambitious sustainability targets. And they are challenged by improving the environmental performance of their buildings and their assets. Now, most buildings and facilities sustainability strategies aim at multiple complementary goals, including regulatory compliance, cost savings, energy efficiency, and brand image improvement. And technology innovation can be strategically placed at the center of these strategies. Now, let me start with asking the question first. What is a sustainable building? I think a lot of people don't know the question or the answer to that question. A sustainable or a green building, as some might refer to, is focusing on increasing the efficiency of the resources it uses, like energy, water, materials. A sustainable building also functions in relation to its occupants' health and well-being and its environmental impact. Now, it usually reduces its human and environmental impact by using its resources efficiently, protecting its people's health and well-being, and increasing their productivity, and reducing waste across all processes. Now, sustainability is a key focus for this century's buildings and facility managers. And I'm happy that Alex was also referring to that. We are actually managing one of the world's biggest pollutants. Buildings are very high polluters in the overall system. If you know that only 20 to 25% of a building's life cycle is in the financing and construction of it, and up to 80% is operational, you need to acknowledge the importance and the role of a facility managers from the start of the design of a building to the end of the life cycle of a building. And I think that's a role that we need to take up. Now, just for some inspiration, I would say, I'd love to show you a couple of what is listed as the top green buildings of 2021. This is one of the world's largest waste to energy plants in Shenzhen in China. It's expected to incinerate about 5,000 tons of waste per day, and it produces 550 millions of kilowatt hours of electricity annually. In Amsterdam, we have one. We have a project which is called The Valley. It's still not finished. It's supposed to be finished by the end of this year, so it's very new. It's a combination of housing, of offices, of shops. A very interesting building. It's about 75,000 square meters. It's, as I said, mixed use. And when it's finished, it's going to be really amazing. What's interesting to know is this is the only building in Europe in the top green buildings list. Now, for having sustainability as one of the top priorities in our European, or coming from the European Commission, this is actually a bit disappointing. So I think we can do better than that, and we should do better than that. Some other examples, more in the United Arab Emirates, a great building, the BIHA headquarters in the middle of the desert. It's a design by Zaha Hadid, the architect who passed away a couple of years ago. It's like a dune-like structure, that building, very interesting, and very challenging in these harsh weather conditions, I would say, in the desert to create a building like that. Another one which I thought was interesting is not in the list, but this is the first net zero carbon building. It's a building about 4,650 square meters, and it's the home of the SEE Institute. It's the Sustainability Research Development and Professional Training arm of diamond developers. The diamond business has quite a lot of money to develop, so they definitely invested this in a good way. The building will be offsetting all its embodied carbon emissions from construction and interiors prior to operations based on an incredible offset scheme. It's a really interesting project, and I'm not going to go too much into detail, on this, but definitely something to look into for inspiration. Now, if we look at how can we create sustainable buildings? Different building technologies can help us in creating and operating sustainable buildings. But there's still a lot of confusion on what these technologies are and how to actually implement and use them in the best way. Understanding those differences and their limitations of each of those technologies, and developing your own business-specific strategy on how to leverage them are, from my perspective, key to harnessing the transformational potential they each hold. There are some amazing tools out there that could help you create and maintain and operate a sustainable building. As the deadline for sustainable targets comes closer, facility managers are striving to reach their net zero targets. And according to a report by Johnson Controls in 2021, 55% of organizations will increase investment in energy efficiency, renewable energy, or smart building technologies. 70% of facility managers aim to reach net zero energy targets. And then there's energy cost savings, facility flexibility, and occupant health and safety will be the biggest drivers of investment in facilities. Security integrations, HVAC improvements, and building controls improvements will be the top investments in facilities. Some really ambitious numbers that we see there. And I'll follow with a couple of examples of the role of a facility manager in a sustainable building. And I'm just gonna, because again, we're short of time, I will limit myself to just a couple of them. A sustainable workplace, creating a sustainable workplace. By using sensors, for example, to track occupancy, employers and office managers can understand employees' working styles to accurately measure and allocate space capacity. And that often leads to either downsizing or better space allocation, which can shrink an office carbon footprint by about 30%. 30% is quite a number. Getting insights into how people use the office or how frequently, for example, doors are opened and closed in restrooms, for example, also determine when and if cleaning is needed. This allows the cleaning staff to optimize their service, reduce the waste of cleaning supplies, which usually comes in plastic containers and are difficult to recycle. Just some very small examples of what we can do as facility managers. We're also faced with, or confronted, I would say, with the challenge of managing different types of waste, including liquid waste, solid waste, hazardous waste, waste management operations must focus on reducing carbon emissions through minimizing waste production and maximizing waste recycling there. And there's 4 strategies you can consider there: some regular waste audits and inspections, evaluation and improvement of waste management activities, providing training and motivation for tenants or users, and waste management performance tracking. Again, just a couple of examples. Now, sustainability managers or facility managers responsible for sustainability must ensure that their buildings operate in the most energy efficient ways. In this direction, you must optimize the energy operations of your heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, which consume significant energy. And you've got nowadays state-of-the-art IoT technologies that enable you to track temperatures in rooms and other spaces of your buildings. And if you have that in conjunction with statistical data processing and machine learning, they can also provide insights into the occupancy of the building. Now, the latter can be used to optimize the operation of LED and HVAC systems. Likewise, IoT analytics enable the prediction of energy use towards scheduling pre-cooling operations at times where energy prices are low, while decreasing cooling at times of high prices. And I think we're currently definitely in an era where the energy prices are rising. We have in Belgium, for example, nowadays energy costs are rising enormously at an enormous pace. So these type of activities are, or these type of measurements are essential. I'm not going to go too much into detail on that as well. What I wanted to share with you as well is that there's obviously some green building standards and certification systems out there. You've got BREEAM, which is launched, I think, in the 90s, early 90s by the Building Research Establishment. And that's a world-leading multidisciplinary buildings science organization. It was the first environmental assessment method for buildings. And it served as the basis for many of the green building certification systems, including LEED, which is a leadership in energy and environmental design, and green globes as well. If you look at BREEAM, that's something that's used in about 80 countries. And then another example is WELL. That's a more performance-based system for measuring and certifying and monitoring features of the built environment that impact human health and well-being by looking at several factors. And then a good example is also DGNB, which is a German Sustainable Building Council. It's in German, the abbreviation. That offers an objective description and assessment of the sustainability of buildings and urban districts. So there's quite a lot of standards and certification, and there will probably become more. That's at least what they're predicting. Now, one of the aspects that I think is essential, if you're responsible for a building and you're responsible for the sustainability aspects of a building, make sure that you know what you're dealing with. Be a skilled, sustainable facility manager. In our case, IFMA offers an internationally recognized credential program, which is called the Sustainability Facility Professional. It's a knowledge-based certificate program that specifically focuses on the sustainability activities for facility managers. Just to give you an example on what's out there. Again, I will try to keep it as short as possible. To conclude, I think that FM contributes to sustainability over the life cycle of the facility. We need to take our responsibility here. We manage spaces, we manage offices, we manage buildings. It's our role and our task to do that in the best way possible and try to achieve those targets. And how to do that? Get your knowledge, experiment, measure. And I also refer to what Alex was saying before. If you cannot measure it, you cannot know, and you cannot improve. And then execute and repeat that. Reduce your space footprint, and you try to reduce your carbon footprint as much as possible. And in communicating to your leadership team, pitch your business case first with the return on investment, the possible return on investment, and pitch sustainability second, or do it together. But that's how you will sell it in a good way. And get your sustainability facility professional certificate from IFMA, obviously. For me, what I want to end with is that our industry and profession plays a key role in the creation and managing of sustainable buildings. It's up to us to take the lead and make a difference. be a sustainable facility management professional. I thank you for your attention, and I'm willing to take any questions that you might have.
So, thank you very much, Lara. I've got a question, or more, but let me ask one only. It seems to me that sustainable measures are very hardly connected to technology, new technologies. Am I right with that?
Well, what technology is offering us is a way to measure, and it makes things tangible, and it makes things transparent, I would say. So measuring makes things transparent, and with that, you can build a business case as well, and you can build on that. So I'm obviously a big believer in the technology and a big supporter of new technology if it's obviously used in a good way, because implementing technology just for the sake of implementing it is not a good thing. You need to really think about why you need the technology and what you will do with it.
Yeah,
because I think that's something that people forget. You know, I see in a lot of organizations, for example, I do quite some site visits, a lot of sensors being placed. But and that's amazing if you do something with the data that is generated by it. Because if you don't use that data, and if you don't make a business case out of it, and you create an action plan out of that data, and you know how to treat that data, and as I say, translate it into an action plan, why would you create or place sensors?
Yeah.
So you need to think for yourself, what is useful for my organization, and what type of technology is out there that could help me reach my objectives and my targets.
Thank you very much. Could you please go back a little bit?
It's just one sentence. We everything what Lara said is perfect. We made a study with Simacek Group, and we had a lot of data, but what we really had to target is to change the habit of the users. Because we can have a lot of data. We can show, oh, this is a disastrous building. If we don't change the habit of the tenants, of the users there, and this gets important for them, we are not winning anything. Because if we optimize heating, ventilation, and they keep the windows open, we heat for nothing or we cool for nothing.
Absolutely.
So, you are right with technology makes it monitoring, but if we don't change the tenants, if we don't change, and if we don't make this as of importance, we win nothing. We only spend money on technology.
And I fully agree on that, Alex. And for me, that's part of the action plan. It's the change management that is related to that as well. Because as you say, you can have as many nice objectives and beautiful targets as possible. But if the users of your buildings are not helping you to achieve their goals and understanding why you have those goals, how to achieve them, then you might as well not even start a project like that. So fully agreeing on that.
Yeah, so you're both saying people first.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm going to even say more. When I talk about facility management, usually I never speak about buildings, because facility management is not about buildings. It's about the people.
Oh,
it's about supporting the people in making their work environment or wherever they are comfortable, and making sure that they can achieve the company's strategic goals, and that they're supported in that from a facility perspective. But it's the central point are the people.
So thank you very much for you both. So that could be the key message. It's about sustainability, the people first. So then is a people issue, and start with the people if you want to be sustainable. Do you agree?
I would agree. I would definitely say that it's, to achieve any objectives, you need the agreement and the let's say the understanding and the action of the people involved in there. So I would say definitely yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What question do you
Thank
have in the audience? Thank you. Questions? Any questions, even in Hungarian? No? Thank you very much. So thank you very much for being with us. Lara, Alex, and I trust we can meet in person soon, as soon as possible. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great conference.
Thank you.